Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaurachandra Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Gadadhar Jaya Srinivas Jaya Mukunda Vasudevi Jaya Haridas.
Hare Krishna. A warm welcome to all our viewers to our Chaitanya Charitamrit event. That is, we are here hosted, an event hosted by the GBC SPT called the Celebrating Chaitanya Charitamrit, where we've had several talks in relation to the Leela pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, talks in relation to Vaishnava relationships, theology, cuisine, and a lot more. And today we are going to talk about Lord Chaitanya and the deities in South India. Lord Chaitanya spent a considerable time in Jagannath Puri, and from there he traveled to South India and he connected to hundreds of people and actually gave them his mercy and got them to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And that and more is something what we're going to talk about today. And to speak to us about this, we have with us Sri Radha Govinda Devi. So I would like to welcome her. Sri Radha Govinda Devi we have her here. Hare Krishna. A warm welcome to you, Sri Radha Govinda.
Thank you.
With us, Hare Krishna. Actually, she is from South India. She is born in a Madhav Brahmin family in South India, and from her early childhood, she's actually been listening and learning Vaishnav songs, Vaishnav, pastimes of Lord Krishna and Vishnu. And at a very young age of 18, she was initiated by His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and she presently resides in Mayapur. But she also extensively travels, across continents, and she's been conducting workshops and seminars in relation to self-help, astrology, Vaishnava theology, and much more. And she's also the director of Bhakti Marriage System, which is part of the congregation ministry. So we are very happy to have you here. I think it's most appropriate that we have somebody from the land of South India to talk about Lord Chaitanya and the deities of South India. So a warm welcome to you, and we're looking forward to hear from you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Parijata. Thank you to the GBC SPT team for organizing this 5 weeks of Chaitanya Charitamrita Nectar. I've been watching the series and different wonderful devotees sharing, and my heart feels very happy. And I'm very honored and humbled to be in the presence of all of you today to go through a meditation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visiting. We will touch upon few deities because he visited so many temples, so many deities, and we don't have enough time to cover all of them. So we will be covering Kurma Kshetra, and we will be covering Srirangam, Udupi, and Tirupati. Those will be the 4 places that we will be meditating on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes there. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Sri Panchatattva, the Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, and my dear Gurudev, Srila Jayapataka Swami, Guru Maharaj, and Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started his South Indian tour, one thing that really struck me was Mahaprabhu's humility. Mahaprabhu, he started addressing the devotees saying how, my dearmost devotees, you're more dear to me than my own life. Ei sabhasthane munya magone kadane sabha meli agya dehayai bedakshine. Mahaprabhu is saying, I now beg all of you for one bit of charity. Please give me permission to leave for a South Indian tour. And when Mahaprabhu said that his intention was he wanted to go alone to South India, and Nityananda Prabhu heard that and he started to convince Mahaprabhu. saying, no, you can't go alone. You're a sannyasi and you need to at least have your danda and the kopina and then you're going to use your fingers to chant the holy names, so you can't hold them. Who's going to hold it for you? So Nityananda Prabhu convinces Mahaprabhu saying, Krishna dasa name sarala brahmana inho sanghe kari laha dhara nivedhana. So Nityananda Prabhu requested, here's a simple brahmana named Krishna Das. Please accept him and take him with you. This is my request. And Mahaprabhu accepted it after many requests and pleas from Nityananda Prabhu and other devotees. Matta simha praya prabhu karila gamana prema veshayai kari nama sankirtana. Almost like a mad lion, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on his tour, filled with ecstatic love and performing Sankirtana, chanting Krishna's names as follows. This famous prayer, Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Raksha Mam. Krishna, 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 Pahi Mam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Raksha Mam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahi Mam. So Mahaprabhu set out on his South Indian tour, and it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Navadvipeye Shakti na Kaila Prakashe Se Shakti Prakashi Nistarila Dakshin Deshe. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he did not manifest his spiritual potencies in Navadvip as he manifested them in South India. And he liberated all people there. And today I want to share with you Mahaprabhu's Leela. We'll begin with Kurmastan. Kurmastan Dham Ki Jai. Kurmastan is a particular special holy place in South India where Mahaprabhu visited. And this is a very relevant lesson. There's relevant lesson in regards to Kurma Dev, and we'll go a little bit over this story. In the Dashavatara Stuti, one of our Vaishnava Acharyas, Vadi Rajatirtha, coming in the disciplic succession of Madhvacharya, he composed this particular verse that summarizes this incarnation and the lessons thereof. Kurma krite tvavatu narmatma prishtadrita bharmatma mandaragire dharma valambana sudharma sadam kalita dharma sudavitaranat durmana rahumukha durmai dhanava sumarma bibheda patato dharmarka kanti varavarma bhava bhuvana nirmana dhuta vikriti. So this is the story of the incarnation of Kurma during the churning of the ocean. And when the nectar was being churned, the demigods and the demons were working together. And the Mandara mountain was used as a rod to churn. And Vasuki, the great divine serpent, was the rope. And who else but the Supreme Lord can bear that load? Who else but Krishna in his incarnation as Kurma upheld Dharma and made sure that the demons didn't misuse the nectar. So he cleverly plotted the whole story. And in order to protect everyone, he very carefully separated the demons and the devotees when the nectar came up. This story of Kurma Dev for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's a very important story in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the verses itself, it offers respects to Kurma and not to Krishna. In fact, there were these discussions that devotees, disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brought up to him, to Bhaktisiddhanta, asking, why is it that Lord Kurma is being glorified and not Krishna? And there's very interesting explanation by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who personally worshipped Kurma deity. So Kurma is known to be the protector who helps in stability and foundation of devotees' vows. And we will see in this story, in this pastime, how in Kurma Kshetra specifically, what happened is that there was a mountain known as Shvetachala Parvata, and there was a great king. His name was Shweta Chakravarti, and he was married to his very chaste, very devoted, beautiful wife Vishnupriya. She was a great devotee of Krishna, of Kurmadev, and she had vowed to perform the Ekadashi Vrata. And Shweta Chakravarti, being very lusty, he wanted to unite with the wife on the Ekadashi day, and the wife just prayed to Kurmadev to protect her vows that she had made. And as she was praying, Kurmadev ordered Ganga Devi to flood. So Kurma, the deity Kurma, ordered Ganga Devi, and Ganga Devi started attacking this Shweta Chakravarti, and Shweta Chakravarti started running everywhere to try to protect himself. And after a while, he made up to the mountain, and he asked one of his ministers, can you explain to me what's actually happening? And he explained that, oh, your wife is such an amazing devotee of Kurmadev, so Kurmadev personally is protecting her by keeping her vow, and so he's keeping you away from her. And the story goes on how this king felt very bad, very guilty and repentful, and he performed 300 years of austerity, asking for forgiveness and asking to get darshan of this merciful deity who was so merciful to his wife. And after long tapasya, he ends up with Narada Muni in Brahmaloka, and finally Brahma gives him the mantras, and the Kurma deity manifests. So this is a beautiful Kurma deity that you can see even today in Kurma Kshetra. And there is a place called Chakra Tirtha. It's a kund, it's a pond there. Kurmadev made that pond in reciprocation to the devotion after being pleased with the Shweta Chakravarti. And Brahma personally installed this Kurma deity. This is one of the few deities on earth that Brahmaji personally installed. Ramanujacharya visited this place, and there is a beautiful story behind how when Ramanujacharya was present in Puri, he was actually thinking how to correct the pujaris and how to help them do worship in a specific way, because back then they were doing mantra and tantra and different sort of puja. And Ramanujacharya got, he actually, in his dream, the Lord told Ramanujacharya, I'm very happy the way they're worshipping me here. And so Jagannath and Puri kicked him to Kurma Kshetra. And actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasizes that before getting to Kurma Kshetra, he actually came to Navadvip and had darshan of Mahaprabhu. And then he went to Kurma Kshetra. So Kurma Kshetra is also known as the place where Ramanujacharya re-established the deity worship there. And Madhvacharya as well. During the kingdom of Vijayanagara Samrajya, Vijayanagara Empire, Madhva devotees were worshipping this Kurma deity. He also established deity worship there, and our very dear Mahaprabhu also visited, and Sripad Shankaracharya also came to worship the deity, and he has installed the Sudarshan Chakra. You can see in the picture the Sudarshan Chakra as well, installed by Sri Shankaracharya, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu installed the most important of all deities. He installed the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Mahaprabhu, along with Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and Shankaracharya, also established the most supreme, most accessible deity in this age of Kali, which is the holy name. Kurma Dev is also known as the incarnation who not only protects the devotees' vows, but he also protects our determination. I would like to read a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam just shortly before mentioning that this Kurma Kshetra is also a very important place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liberated a very dear devotee, Vasudev, who suffered from leprosy. Vasudeva namayeka dvija mahashaya sarvange galita kushta tate kidamaya. So this Brahmana, Vasudev, he was a great person, but he was suffering from leprosy. And his body was filled with living worms. And after Mahaprabhu met with him and got pleased by his devotional service, Prabhu sparsha dukha sange kushta dure gela ananda sahite anga sundara haila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched him, both the leprosy and his distress went to a distant place. Indeed, Vasudev's body became very beautiful to his great happiness. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Vasudev ki jai. This shows the power of the holy name. This shows the power of devotion and service. And to end our Kurma Kshetra pastime, I would like to read the 12th canto, 13th chapter, text 2. In the translation, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Kurma, or tortoise, his back was scratched by the sharp-edged stones lying on massive willing Mount Mandara, and this scratching made the Lord sleepy. May you all be protected by the winds caused by the Lord's breathing in his sleepy condition. Ever since that time, even up to the present day, the ocean tides have imitated the Lord's inhalation and exhalation by piously coming in and going out. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can alleviate the itching sensation within the minds of mental speculators, as well as the itching of the material senses of conditioned souls engaged in sense gratification. Thus, by meditating on the windy breath of Lord Kurma, the tortoise incarnation, all categories of conditioned souls can be relieved of the deficiencies of material existence and come to the liberated spiritual platform. One must simply allow the pastimes of the Lord Kurma to blow within one's heart like a favorable breeze. Then one will surely find spiritual peace. Jai Shri Shri Kurma Dev Bhagavan ki Jai, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to worship Kurma deity, and in Vedic astrology, Kurma Dev is also the lord of planet Saturn. So many of us sometimes feel very afraid of Saturn planet. Saturn planet causes misery, it makes us work hard and become detached. So it's known that by taking shelter of Kurma Dev, he alleviates our misery and makes us ready to get purified by Saturn or any other planet. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued his magical tour in South India. He was touching everybody's heart and making devotees, and those devotees who saw him got astonished with his dancing and with his singing. And not only not only did those who saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu become great devotees, those who saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also became great devotees. Next, we will go into the meditation of the holy dham of Srirangam. Sri Ranganath Bhagavan ki jai, Sri Kshetra ki jai. Ranganath. The pastime goes back all the way to Treta Yuga. There was a Dharma Varma. He wanted the deity that was given again by Brahma himself to the Ikshvaku dynasty, which was Dasharath Maharaj, the father of Lord Ramachandra. And Dharma Varma became so attracted to this Vimana deity, Vimana Ranganatha deity, and he wanted that deity. And Dasharath said, no, this is our dynasty deity, I can't give it to you. So then later on, when Rama grew up and the Ramayana pastime took place and Rama won over Ravana and Vibhishan became great devotee of Lord Ram and he was visiting Ayodhya, Vibhishan as well got very attracted to this deity. So he requested Lord Ram to give him this deity. And Lord Ram relented and he gave him this deity of Ranganath. And he told Vibhishan on one condition, when you put this deity down on the ground, the deity is going to not move. So you have to be careful about it. And the beauty and the grace of Ranganath is described in a beautiful song by Purandara Dasa. I'd like to quote the beauty of Sri Ranganath. This is the Srirangam temple. This is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited this beautiful temple. And these are the pastimes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw these beautiful deity. For the eyes, these deities are a festival. Kangalidhyatako Kaveri Rangana Nodada Jagangalolage Mangalamurute Jagangalolage Mangalamurute Rangana Shripadangala Nodada Kangalidhyatako Kaveri Rangana Nodada ಎಂದಿಗಾದರೊಮ್ಮೆ ಜನರು ಬಂದು ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂದು ಚಂದ್ರ ಪುಷ್ಕರಣಿ ಸ್ನಾನವ ಮಾಡಿ ಆನಂದದಿಂದಲಿ ರಂಗನ ನೋಡದ ಕಣ್ಗಳಿದ್ಯಾತಕೋ ಕಾವೇರಿ ರಂಗನ ನೋಡದ ಹರಿಪಾದೋದಕ ಸಮಕಾವೇರಿ ವಿರಜಾ ನದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ನಾನ ಮಾಡಿ ಪರಮ ವೈಕುಂಠ ರಂಗಮಂದಿರ ಪರವಾಸುದೇವನ ನೋಡದ ಕಂಗಳಿದ್ಯಾತಕೋ ಕಾವೇರಿ ರಂಗನ ನೋಡದ What is the purpose of the eyes if we don't see the beautiful form of Ranganath? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed 4 months in Srirangam, and every single day he would take in bath in the Kaveri river, and he would go and have the darshan of Sri Ranganath. This deity is beautifully adorned with many, many pendants and beautifully bedecked ornaments. And having darshan of Ranganath is like visiting Vaikuntha. And he wears the Vaijayanti Mala, and he is so dear to the devotees of Ranganath. And the story continues. Vibhishan agrees, takes the deity and starts to go towards Sri Lanka, which was his very, very cherished desire. So on the way, while flying, he remembers that he has to perform his evening rituals, puja. So he asks a little boy who's standing there, can you please hold the deity for a while for my oblations? And that little boy was none other than Ganesh, it is mentioned. Lord Ganesh himself stood there and he held the Ranganath deity for a while, and he called out 3 times to Vibhishan, and Vibhishan was busy. So Ganesh put down the deity, and that's it. Ranganath is not going to move anymore. This story that I mentioned earlier about this Dharma Varma who had the desire for so many years, who requested Dasharath to give him the deity, resided in Srirangam. So as the will of the Lord to fulfill the desire of his devotees, he stayed there. And Vibhishan was very disappointed. But then Rama, Krishna explained that this is meant to be that way, but the Lord would put his head towards the west and look towards the south. South is where the Sri Lanka is. So he is always having his vision on Sri Lanka, where Vibhishan was ruling. In fact, the entrance to the temple is also from the south, and the deity is looking towards the south direction. So Srirangam is a very, very important place, which is on the banks of river Kaveri. And this Kaveri river forms small sacred islands. It goes to in Karnataka and in Tamil Nadu, and it is said that there are the 3 Rangas. The Adi Ranga, which is in the Sri Rangapatnam in Karnataka. And then there's the Madhya Ranga, that is in the Ranganath Swami temple in Shivana Samudra, is also in Karnataka. And the Antyaranga, which is also called as Adya Ranga, which is in Srirangam, where Ranganath temple is located, the Srirangam temple, this temple here. This is one of the biggest temple in India. So as the pastime goes, Mahaprabhu found an illiterate Brahmana, and he was absorbed in reading something. Vipra kahe murkami shabdharta na jani shuddha shuddha Gita padi guru agyamani. So he explained that to Mahaprabhu that I don't actually know how to read. I'm only just trying to understand Gita because of the Guru's instruction. Mahaprabhu puchila tanra shuno mahashaya kono artha jani tomar eta sukha haya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked this Brahmana, my dear sir, why are you in such ecstatic love? You're saying you don't know how to read. Which portion of Bhagavad Gita is giving you such transcendental pleasure? Tell me. And the Brahmana said, I actually feel so touched. When I sit down to read Gita, the form of Krishna is Parthasarathi. He became the charioteer of Arjuna. As soon as I touch Gita, this image comes in my head, in my heart. And as soon as I see this form, I immediately remember how the Lord is Bhaktavatsala and how kind he is to the devotees. And this thought makes me cry. So Mahaprabhu was very touched, and he blesses this Brahmana, and he establishes the fact that the essence of Krishna consciousness is pure love. And it's not about knowing a lot of scriptures and knowing a lot of knowledge, but applied knowledge, which is bhakti, which is devotional service, which is coming from the heart. And we have in the Srirangam temple, this is the Ramanujacharya's, Ramanujacharya is still there. His body is still there. You see in the back here, that's Ramanujacharya's physical body. It's kept with camphor and saffron, and it's even they say they can show you the nails growing actually. So Ramanujacharya never actually left Srirangam. He's still there, blessing all the devotees. And Mahaprabhu visited this place as well. In Srirangam, there are very important devotees that Mahaprabhu recruited. One of the famous devotees is Sri Gopala Bhatta, who became Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. He was from Srirangam, and Mahaprabhu stayed in the house of Gopal Bhatta. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami became one of our important acharyas in our sampradaya. And it is said that one day he was worshipping Nashinga deity, Shaligram deities, and one very wealthy businessman gave him lots of jewelry. And Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami desired, oh, I wish I could decorate my beautiful Shilas. Oh, I wish only they had a form that I could decorate them with. And that's our famous pastime when Sri Radha Raman deity manifested from the Shilas of Sri Gopal Bhatta. Such is the great devotee that Mahaprabhu made him a devotee in Srirangam. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami ki jai, Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Radha Raman Dev ki jai. And there is Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati was one of the important Vaishnava saints in our sampradaya who wrote the Sri Chaitanya Chandramrita. And this is a painting of Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. And this is an audio that's available, dramatic audio narration, Sri Chaitanya Chandramrita. He also was from Srirangam, and Mahaprabhu, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, they were touched as well. And there's another important pastime of Andal. Andal is a very, very sweet story of this beautiful little girl who is a very romantic story of her who wanted to marry only Krishna. She wanted to marry Ranganath. And the pastime goes that she used to every single day take the garland that her father would prepare to offer to the deity Ranganath, and she would first wear them. She would first wear them. And one day the father saw a shred of hair in the garland that he was about to take to Ranganath. And he said, oh my God, now this garland has become contaminated. I cannot offer this to Ranganath. He left the garland and he was upset. And the deity actually told him, I want that garland. Where is my garland? Because this was the pastime between Ranganath and Andal, that he would, in South India, there's a tradition that in marriage, you put the garland which is in your neck on your beloved's neck. So that was the pastime that Andal would play since she was a child. And she continued the pastimes and into her youthful teenage year. And when she was 13, when her father started worrying about getting her married, she said, no, I'm not marrying anybody. I'm marrying Ranganath. Ranganath is my husband. And the father was thinking what to do. And Ranganath revealed to the father that dress her as a bride and bring her to me, get her married. And at 13, she was dressed as a bride. And by then she had already written Tirupati. She had written many beautiful poetry. So she was brought to Ranganath as a beautifully dressed new bride. And she got married to Ranganath. And from there, she actually disappeared into the deity of Ranganath. So she's a great devotee, and she's known to be one of the Alavars, 9th Alavar. And she was one of the prominent Vaishnavis in the succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya to become very prominent in her literature, her literary work, even till today, glorified, sung, and accepted by the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And she became one of the very important Vaishnava saints. And Mahaprabhu, after visiting there, it is also known that Bilva Mangal Thakur wrote Krishna Karnamrita, and the teachings were also coming from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya's literary works as well. And Mahaprabhu's spread this love and devotion that was between these devotees such as Andal to the whole of South India. And this is Sri Ranganath. Sri Ranganath Bhagavan ki jai. This is Srirangam, Sri Ranganath lying down, and beautiful Ranganath lying on Anantashesh, beautifully bedecked with many jewelry and ornaments and gold. There are many pastimes, even of recent, of treasures being found in Srirangam temple, and so on. Jai Shri Sri Ranganath Bhagavan ki jai, Ramanujacharya ki jai, Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami ki jai, Prabodhananda Saraswati ki jai, Andal ki jai. Next, we will go into our meditation to Shri Udupi Dham. This is the Udupi pond in the temple there. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Udupi, Madhvacharya sthane aila yanha tattvavadi, Udupi te Krishna dekhi tahan haila premamadi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived in Udupi, the place of Madhvacharya, where the philosophers known as Tattvavadis resided. There he saw the deity of Lord Krishna and became mad with ecstasy. And this is the birthplace also of Madhvacharya. He was born in Kurma Kshetra, a village near Udupi. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the dancing Krishna, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Madhya Leela 9.245, how this beautiful deity, dancing Krishna, who revealed himself to Madhvacharya, Sikkidanamma kadumuddu Krishna bhatta shiromani madvarige. Sikkidanamma kadalinali sere sikkidanamma hadaginali dakkidanamma gopi chandanavu tumbida parimala bhandadali. ದಕ್ಕಿದನಮ್ಮ ಗೋಪಿ ಚಂದನವು ತುಂಬಿದ ಪರಿಮಳ ಭಾಂಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಗೋಪಿ ಚಂದನ ತಲೆ ಆಚಿಲದಿಂಗತೆ ಮಧ್ವಾಚಾರ್ಯ ಸೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪಾಯ್ಲ ಕೋಣೋ ಮಾತೆ. I sang two verses now. One verse was in Kannada and another verse was in Bengali from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Both say this exact same thing. Madhvacharya, after this beautiful pastime of the boat sailing in the ocean, this is the ocean of Udupi. It was sailing and Madhvacharya stood on the shore and he saw this huge boat being stuck by the wind and about to drown. So he, by the wave of his chadar, he saved that big boat, and the businessman became very pleased with him and he gave him Gopi Chandan, big block of tilak, and inside the tilak comes this beautiful deity of Sri Krishna. He's in one hand holding the stick to herd the cows, and in another hand he's holding laddu. And this beautiful deity of Krishna was found by Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya is known as the Hanuma Bhima Madhva. Srimad Anandatirtha Bhagavat Padacharya. He is known as the Acharya whose name was also Anandatirtha. He is none other than Hanuman. He is none other than Bhima himself. So when Madhvacharya found Udupi Sri Krishna and he brought the deity across the village, and you can see in this picture everybody is paying respects to Udupi Krishna, and he established the temple Ashtamatas, the 8 matas in Udupi. And every year a particular mat, a particular group would rule meaning manage, and then the next year the system would change. Even today the same system is running. We have the Ashtamatas of Udupi, 8 matas, and we have 8 different sannyasis who head each of the matas, and this was established by Madhvacharya. And this deity has the history going back a little bit more. I'll come to that shortly. I want to say that in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, Murari Gupta is none other than Hanuman's expansion. So we have Madhvacharya, who's actually, Madhvacharya's incarnation is Murari Gupta, because he's Hanuman himself. So there are a lot of connections we can see between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and how Madhvacharya later on also in the form of Murari Gupta assisted in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. Okay, let's go a little bit into the story of the origin of our Udupi Krishna deity. One day, Narad Muni, he was walking through the palaces of Dwarka, and then he saw Mother Rukmini, Princess Rukmini, and he started to glorify Krishna's childhood pastimes. Gopi kelninna magajara, iva chora sukumara. Gopi kelninna magajara, iva chora sukumara. Mudadi mukunda sadanaka banda, mudadi mukunda sadanaka banda. Dadiyami salu benne tinda, ninna kanda Ananda. So this is like all the beautiful naughty activities of Krishna, running around Gokula, stealing the butter, stealing the hearts of the gopis, and Mother Yashoda taking so much pleasure in this little baby form of Krishna, which is such a joy to the eyes. And Rukmini becomes very curious. She says, I want to see that form of Krishna. So Narad Muni gifts her a deity that looked exactly like baby Krishna's deity. So this deity was given, this is Dwapara Yuga story. And after the end of the Dwapara Yuga, in the inundation, this deity was also taken away into the ocean. And that's when Madhvacharya later on finds the deity in the tilak, the same exact deity that was worshipped by Rukmini Devi. And this is the deity. You can see there's a special vesh, special avatar of Krishna. He's dressed like Rukmini here. Madhvacharya established 2 rules for this deity. Rule number 1, you would never dress him as Nrsingadev. Never. You can dress him as anything else. And so Krishna dresses in all forms, as Durga Devi, as Kurma, as Matsya, as Rukmini, as anything. Shiva, he dresses in all sorts of dresses, but never as Nrsingadev. The second rule Madhvacharya gave was to never change the eyes of Krishna, to never paint and not to manipulate the eyes. It should always be the same. And here in this particular avatar, the dress, you can see this is Rukmini avatar. He's dressed like Rukmini. And this Brahmana standing here was the Brahmana who took the love letter of Rukmini to Krishna. And it is known that this Brahmana was none other than Vadi Rajatirtha, who became one of the Vaishnavacharyas who established certain systems in Udupi Mutt and changed certain rules. And in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, that Brahmana is none other than the Vanamali, who was the matchmaker who arranged the marriage of Mahaprabhu. How interesting is that? So again, another one of our very major Vaishnavacharyas coming in the disciplic succession of Madhva Sampradaya, Vadi Rajatirtha, also participated in Mahaprabhu's pastime. The same Brahmana who gave the letter of Rukmini to Krishna, same Vadi Rajatirtha, and the same Vanamali Brahmana, Vanamali, who was the matchmaker. So this is Vadi Rajatirtha. Shri Vadi Rajatirtha Guru Sarva Bhauma. It is known as this Vadi Raja is the Bhavi Samira, which means in the Madhva Sampradaya, the focus is not so much about going back to Godhead. It's more about the Taratamya. It's more about different positions you take up in the management of the universe. So he's going to be the next Vayu, the next Samira. He's going to become he's going to have the position of Vayu, Samira. Okay, so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he visited Udupi, he touched the hearts of many, many devotees, and he converted them, and he made a great impact in the minds and hearts of people, and everybody was flooded with ecstatic love for Krishna. And there are many important devotees as well in Udupi, such as Kanakadasa, Purandaradasa, who passed by, who also established the Prema Bhakti aspect of the path of Prema Bhakti, the path of Bhakti Yoga, and to assist Mahaprabhu in furthering his mission. So that's a quick meditation on Udupi tour of Mahaprabhu and the story there. Shri Udupi Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Shripad Madhvacharya ki jai. Next, we will jump into the meditation of Mahaprabhu visiting Tirupati. Here is Yashoda and Krishna. Mahaprabhu chali aila Tirupati Trimale, Chaturbhuja Murti dheke Venkatadri chale. Venkatadri Nilaya. This is Tirumala. This is the Tirumala hills. This is the Tirupati temple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived in Tirupati, Tirumala, where he saw a four-handed deity on the Venkatachala hill. So when he visited Tirumala, which is also known as Tirupati, he extensively preached the chanting of the holy name. The beautiful picture of Yashoda and Krishna is to show how Sri Krishna has a purpose. What is the purpose? Venkatachala nilayam Vaikunta puravasam Pankajanetram paramapavitram Shankachakradhara Chinmaya Rupam Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikunta Puravasam. So, Srila Prabhupada said that Balaji Venkateshwara is none other than Krishna himself. When Yashoda Maya saw Krishna growing up, she did not see Krishna getting married. So she had a desire to see Krishna being married. So in the later on pastimes, when this is in the previous Kali Yuga, when the whole pastime happens between Bhrigu Muni, who comes to find the best of all the devas to give the results of the sacrifice, and after he becomes disappointed in Brahmaloka and Shivaloka, he arrives in Vaikuntha Loka, and in Vaikuntha Loka he sees that Vishnu is busy with Lakshmi Devi, and he becomes so angry, he comes and kicks on the chest of the Lord, and Lakshmi Devi becomes very upset because that's the place she resides. And Vishnu very, very diplomatically holds the feet of Bhrigu Muni and he removes the eye which is on his feet. And then Lakshmi Devi goes to Kolhapur and to do her austerities. And then after that, Krishna cannot be without Radharani. Krishna cannot be without his consort. So he follows her and the whole pastime ensues there. Brahma becomes a cow and Shiva becomes a calf. And they go to the king, where the king takes this cow and the calf. And the king and the cow and the calf, they are the Surabhi. They give unlimited milk. But that milk is meant for Krishna. So the king is waiting for the milk. But the cow goes and gives milk to Krishna, who is hiding under an anthill, which is very typical of a devotee wanting to serve Krishna and not anybody else. And then one point, the cowherd boy gets very angry and he tries to kill this cow. But then the axe hits the Lord, who's hiding there in the anthill in separation from Lakshmi Devi, and he is bleeding. At that time, he comes across the mother who's waiting for him for such a long time, Bakula Devi. She's waiting in the forest that Krishna will come, Krishna will come. And that's actually known as Yashoda Maya's expansion, Bakula Devi, who waits for Krishna there. And so Krishna comes with a purpose to fulfill the desires of his devotees. So one of the purposes of Balaji's incarnation, Venkateshwara's incarnation, was to fulfill Yashoda Maya's desire. Another is again another story from Treta Yuga, Rama's pastime. It is said that when Ravana kidnapped Sita, actually it was not Sita, it was Maya Sita. In fact, talking about South India tour and Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu reached Rameshwar, we won't be touching that today, but when Mahaprabhu reached Rameshwar, that's where he found the documentation or like scriptural evidence about the Maya Sita as well, it is said. So when Sita Devi comes back from the fire, Agni Dev is protecting her, the Maya Sita, who requests Rama that I have done this service, so please marry me. And Rama says, no, I'm Eka Patni Vrathasta. I cannot marry more than one wife this life, but I will come in the Kali Yuga and I will fulfill your desire. So that Vedavati, the Maya Sita was also known as Vedavati. So Vedavati was given a promise, and so Krishna came back as Balaji, and this is Sita Devi, you see, coming out of the fire test, coming up pure. And so Krishna came to fulfill promises of devotees. And there was this beautiful princess, the daughter of Parvatam, Padmavati. She was waiting. She was waiting in Tirumala for Krishna to come. And beautiful Krishna got attracted to Padmavati Devi. And this is the marriage. Srinivasa Padmavatige Mangalyava Kattida, Srinivasana Maduve Node Striyarellaru Bannire, Padmavatiya Maduve Node Muddu Baleyaru Bannire, Shankhe illade Varava Koduva Venkateshana Salahida. Jaya Jaya Srinivasage Jaya Jaya Padmavatige Volidanta Shri Harige Nitya Jaya Mangala Sheshadri Girivasa Shri Devi Arasage Kalyana Murutige Nitya Jaya Mangala Kalyana Murutige Nitya Jaya Mangala Nitya Shubha Mangala Nitya Jaya Mangala. This is Krishna with 4 arms. Srinivasa, Balaji, Venkateshwara, and this is Padmavati Devi, and the whole universe came there for the wedding. You can see Lord Shiva here, Brahmaji here, Ganesha, Kartikeya, Narad Muni. You can see all the devas and the devis from the heavenly planets present there, and Kuvera as well. And Balaji took a loan from Kuvera because he had to perform a big wedding. Big fat wedding. I mean, this is a real big fat wedding. So Balaji promised that by the end of this Kali Yuga, which is right now, in this Kali Yuga, he will pay back the loan. In fact, it's the richest temple in the world, which collects most money because he has to pay back to Kuvera. So Mahaprabhu visited Krishna, Srinivasa, Balaji in Tirumala, and it is said that when Mahaprabhu arrived there, he was in ecstasy to see Krishna, and he extensively preached the holy names. And Yedu Kundalavada, Venkatramana, Govinda, Govinda. This is Balaji deity. He is none other than Krishna himself. Is not a carved deity. It's not just from anywhere. It's a self-manifested deity. Is the Lord himself becoming a stone. And he is going to keep going down under the Viraja river. There's a Viraja river flowing underneath, and his lotus feet is already inside the river. And it is said that by the end of this Kali Yuga, he will be completely underneath. He will be going inside the Viraja river. And there is so many pastimes that happens. Pankaja Netram Parama Pavitram. Shanka Chakradhara Chinmaya Rupam. Such a beautiful eternal form of the Lord. On a certain day of the week in Tirumala, they make the tilak of the Lord, which what you see here is made from camphor. Also the one under his chin and the one here. This is when Bakula Devi tried to stop the bleeding of the Lord, which was hit by that cowherd. To stop that, she put camphor on his forehead and on his chin. And one day of the week, on Fridays, they keep the tilak, this camphor tilak, smaller, and that day many thieves get caught on the Tirumala hill. So the Lord is performing so many wonderful pastimes, and people, one of the things that very famous is to people sacrifice their hair. You ask for some specific benediction and then you sacrifice your hair, and that's one of the businesses, hair industries also run by Balaji in that sense. And there is Padmavati Devi here. Srinivasa Padmavati Balaji Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Tirumala Tirupati ki jai. And we have our ISKCON temple there, Sri Radha Govinda and Ashtasaki in Tirupati. And this is the Sheshadri. Sheshadri is the mountain there. There's so many pastimes. Just I could go on and on all night. But this is for today. These are our main places of meditation. We touched upon Tirupati. We touched Srinivasa Kalyana. This is the wedding between Srinivasa and Padmavati Devi. And we touched the story of Udupi Krishna, and how Madhvacharya found Udupi Krishna in the Gopi Chandan on the ocean. And then we saw Ranganath deity in Srirangam, where different great devotees such as Andal, Prabodhananda Saraswati, Gopal Bhatta, and Vibhishan, going back into the history, all of them had roles to play in Mahaprabhu's movement. And when we also touched upon Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya being very much connected with our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, and how Mahaprabhu took principles from both Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and Madhva Sampradaya and established our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So this is the talk on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the deities in South India. Thank you very much for your attention. And if we have questions or comments, we can take now. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. That was so immersive. Such nectar. Beautifully put together, the beautiful darshans. I mean, you just took us on this tour to South India and intertwined everything with beautiful stories, pictures, and information. So I would just want to recap for our viewers that we actually had a tour of Kurma Kshetra, had darshan of Sri Kurmadev. We went to Srirangam and had darshan of Sri Ranganath. We went to Udupi and we had darshan of Sri Udupi Krishna. And we went to Tirupati and had darshan of Sri Balaji. So during this lockdown, when everybody's locked in, here is the opportunity where you can visit 4 dhams in 1 hour and get so much mercy of the Lordships. So I think this was so enlivening. And especially all these little information that you were sharing in between about that Kurma Dev helps to protect one's vow, and the little story of Ranganath, and also about Udupi Krishna, and so many other small little anecdotes which you mentioned. So and I think of all that, one of the most beautiful thing what you said was that Lord Chaitanya actually taught the lesson of humility. By establishing, the holy names, and by traveling to all different places. And I think that is the power, that is the power of association and hearing. And also what you shared that, I think the most important takeaway was actually that Lord Chaitanya installed the holy names. Mm-hmm. This is what Lord Chaitanya really did during this tour, where he actually, liberated so many, souls, and engaged, so many living entities. Not only that, but, across all age, he engaged everyone in service of the holy names through his chanting of the holy the Maha Mantra and the Hare Krishna mantra. And I actually cannot help but mention this, that in fact while you were talking, I just had one devotee come here, and this is the power of association. I actually had one devotee come in who was just visiting Udupi, and he came in and he actually gifted me this. This just came in right now.
Amazing.
I just want to say that this is Udupi Krishna from Udupi, and we just spoke about his. She just told us about Udupi Krishna, that how their eyes. There was this rule that the eyes do not change, they do not get, they should not be dressed as Lord Narsingadev, and Sri Radha Govinda actually showed us the form of Lord Udupi Krishna dressed as Rukmini. And here he is. So I'm sure and I hope that Krishna comes to you in many different forms, in holy name, in his deity forms, through, any beautiful pastime that you like about Krishna. And with that, I actually want to just tell our viewers that we have a lot more nectar coming in relation to Lord Chaitanya. We still have 1 week left of our 5 weeks of celebrating Chaitanya Charitamrita. So please stay in touch, and you can come back to the GBC SPT Facebook channel, YouTube channel, or visit the website for more information about the series and watch them live. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, and thank you so much, Sri Radha Govinda. It was so enlightening, and we hope to have you again soon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Govinda.